Luminosity versus Hands Up in our next series. Both of them having a little bit, especially Hands Up. Those were extremely well played matches going into coming out of the round of 8. And Luminosity kind of getting a little bit of a break in their series because of that one match that unfortunately Tony Del Bronx had that disconnect. But they were able to win the next match fairly convincingly as well. So I'm really interested to see how this match is actually going to end up going, this next match that we're going to end up seeing.
That'd be pretty good. I mean, exciting matches already. Of course, you know, we are going to be moving to the best of 7 for the grand finals too. But our next matchup, Luminosity versus Hands Up, I'm really excited for this matchup. A lot of great players on both teams, and that's going to be a best of 5. We're just waiting for the players to get ready. Looks like we may have. We have our comps chosen. Yeah, this is kind of what I wanted to see.
I am pretty excited about this. A lot of people have seen me cast before, know that I've played a Windwalker Monk quite a bit in the past, and always felt like just it's going to take until somebody eventually is going to take a Windwalker Monk and they're going to win absolutely everything. And so we will be seeing a Windwalker Monk for Team Hands Up. They're going to be running that Frost DK played by Black Jeff. They're going to have Balance on Windwalker, one of the best Windwalkers in the game right now. And of course, Rich Girl on that Holy Paladin, keeping them alive. They'll be going up against Luminosity. We're going to see Smexen as the Arms Warrior, Shamguards, the highest ranked Enhancement Shaman, and for a little bit of time, the highest ranked player in the world, or excuse me, in North America, I should say. And he's going to be getting healed by Danny Carey, one of the best healers that we've ever seen. So I'm really, really excited to see how this match actually plays out.
Yeah, and a lot of standard choices. Balance not playing too many odd choices. We see him playing Chi Explosion with Chi Torpedo, so his damage is going to be coming from those abilities. Going to be a lot of spread pressure. Just watch for the clones coming out from Balance, because he's going to be the person that's going to spread a lot of the pressure. But they're going to go immediately onto Balance. He's going to be trained pretty much beginning to end during these matches. As you see, a lot of damage coming out from Shamguards already, as the Pillar of Frost is up on Black Jeff and Balance, but not able to get too many brews out quite yet. He's really trying to catch his stride at the beginning of this match.
Yeah, definitely. Shamguards actually was in a little bit of a scary situation there for just a second, but now with this Ascendance out, he's able to start putting a lot more pressure and actually going over onto Rich Girl. Could be in a lot of trouble here. The bash comes out onto Rich Girl. He does have the Avenging Wrath active and that Execution Sentence, which is going to heal him back up here just fine for just a second, and actually able to no, excuse me. I thought for a second that he had baited out a interrupt there, but I was wrong about that. So Balance now being once again the target of choice, and they're going on Shamguards as well. Both Shamguards and Balance, the Enhancement Shaman and the Windwalker Monk, they're both known for being relatively easy to kill compared to some other classes. So we'll have to see how well they can do here. Of course, Shamguards does have a lot of self-healing available to him, and this is going to be an exciting match as this continues. It looks like Hands Up so far doing pretty well, but we're actually kind of seeing the opposite of the matches they played previously, where everyone on their team now is looking like they're a little bit low on health.
Yeah, Balance, you know, really struggling at the start to try to get to his target and get his damage out. Of course, he's going to be the guy that will set up a bunch of the kills. He really needs to get out that spread pressure. Ooh. Wow! All right. Rich Girl XO to that Blade Storm, having to bubble, but Black Jeff also getting so low as the bubble is out. He's trying to spam those heals. Jeff doing everything possible with those leeches coming out. Wow, that was just so much damage on the dot from Smexen. That Blade Storm really did a lot of work there.
Yeah, but Shamguard's now looking like he's in some trouble. He's going to have to use his Shamanistic Rage, Danny Carey, into that Fist of Justice, and they've now got the Paralysis on him. They don't have a ton of CC, unfortunately, to throw at Danny Carey, so they've got to be able to kill Shamguards just through pure damage, and I don't know if they have the damage output that they really need to be able to do that. Of course, Black Jeff known for doing a truckload of damage in a hurry, and we'll have to see how Balance is able to keep up with that himself. But Shamguard's now looking like he's going to be pretty fine for just a moment, and they're going to go back over onto Rich Girl here. He's caught into that bash there for just a second. He does have the Avenging Wrath still available, going to be able to heal himself back up. The Fist of Fury coming out, able to stun everyone on that team for just a second, and now that's going to force the Iron Bark out onto Shamguards.
Yes, Shamguard's going to run and keep on his target. Rich Girl choosing to bop, But again, of course, he has an enhancement shaman on him, so it doesn't last very long. Rich Girl getting caught in the shockwave, also down to 200k health right there, still taking a bunch of damage. Execution sentence on the Paladin, so that's a little bit of extra healing. Shamguards is away from his target and is actually being struck by both the Monk and the Death Knight at this point. No timers up for either one of them, though, as Shamguards is kind of in trouble. Danny Carey really needs to get those heals out as he drops those treants down for a little extra healing, plus bombing those regrowths on him, so Shamguards is going to be okay. Great job by Shamguards realizing where his healer was and knowing that he couldn't stick on to the healer at that moment.
Yeah, definitely, but great job by Blackchoff and Balance as well, forcing him to have to pull back because Rich Girl is in a lot of trouble. He has no defensive cooldowns available. He does have his Avenging Wrath coming up very shortly, and he will almost certainly have to use it right away. Actually, wow, he's just going to get annihilated. Smexen with a big execute crit, going to go ahead and take down Rich Girl, and that's going to be the first game here very shortly for Luminosity against Hands Up.
Wow, and those were great plays by both teams. I saw a lot more out of Luminosity. That I loved that Danny Carey was the one initiating the setup on the healer, would blink in with that stun, and able to get back out of position. And there was some times when I looked over and Danny Carey was standing on the opposite corner of the same pillar, just getting ready for that moment where he wants to stun it.
Yeah, definitely. And I do feel like well, obviously, I'm very, very happy to have seen the Windwalker Monk play it. I do feel like maybe that composition doesn't work super well for them against this because they just really don't have much in the way of CC for the healer. There were lots of situations where if they just had one or two more, like a polymorph or something that they could throw out, that could have easily been a kill for them. But we'll have to see if they end up going with something different for this next match. If they're going to go back to what they've been playing all day and been super, super effective with, which of course was that Warlock. Yeah,
and I mean, I did see a couple grip paralysis. You know, that's not bad. You know, that's a good setup that they can use because he was running Glyph of Paralysis, so he could get rid of those dots before it landed onto Danny Carey. But there wasn't enough of those. I think they were just having to play a little bit too defensive. But, you know, Balance able to survive for a really long time. You know, that's tough as a Windwalker against this kind of team. You know, a lot of strong physical damage really chops them up. Shamguards, you know, really sealing the deal with the Ascendants towards the end and doing a great job of not chasing the healer into a bad position. You know, really choosing to stay back for a second and letting Danny Carey pick him up.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would have expected Balance to be the kill target there, so maybe it was just a little bit of I think it was the second they knew that they could force the bubble out of Rich Girl. I think that they knew, hey, we can do a lot of damage to this Paladin. We already forced the bubble. We might as well finish the job. Yep. So we will be going to Dalaran Sewers next. That will be Team Hands Up's choice here. Luminosity will be playing Enhancement, Arms Warrior, and Resto Druid. Same composition yet again. And Hands Up will be going back to that Affliction Warlock. We'll be subbing out the Windwalker Monk with the Holy Paladin and the Frost Death Knight for this next matchup. Yeah,
so they must be switching up. We're going to give them a second to get that player back online and into the group.
Yep.
So, I mean, we saw a lot of great plays out of the Warlock on that team.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like, all right. Not only that, we're going to see a little bit difference. This is a really interesting setup against this team. So we did see in the middle of that match where Shamguards was kind of bursted down a little bit. Now they have ultimately the king of burst, the Demo Warlock coming out. If they let him free and he can cast some Demon Bolts if he's playing that, you know, he'll be able to set up a lot of damage because the second Demon Bolt into some Chaos Waves is just so much damage for the enemy team.
Absolutely. So this match is getting started right now. We will be joining in the arena here very, very shortly and getting into this game 2 between Hands Up and Luminosity. We currently have Luminosity leading 1-0 in this best of 5 series. Of course, the first team to win 3 matches will be victorious and will be moving on to the finals where they will face none other than Is Butter a Carb, which we have yet to find the answer to, whether or not butter is in fact a carb, but maybe we can find that out later. Right now, Luminosity, Smexen, Shamguards, Danny Carey. On the other side, we have Hands Up, Black Jeff, Beats by Drake coming in as that Demo Warlock, and we will have Rich Girl as the Holy Paladin.
That'll be interesting to see the play of this, of course. We're going to see lots of quick bursts. That is why he is playing that Glyph of Dark Soul, so he can just get the faster cooldowns every time he is going to switch into meta. He really needs that Dark Soul to back up the damage also. And of course, Specs, looks like we are going to have these teams drop out for a second. We'll get them re-queued right back up shortly when we find out what happened. But again, that was an exciting last match, and I love to see this change that we're seeing. The Demo Warlock, I know they did get nerfed a whole bunch going into this patch, but in Arena they were still extremely strong.
Yep, definitely.
It was a lot of the reason was because their damage was switched around a little bit. You know, a bunch of abilities lost a little bit of damage, but then the scaling of their mastery went up. So each point of mastery just gives them that much more. And in situations like Arena, you're totally caring about the amount of damage.
Yep. So just to explain what just happened in that game a little bit, the team did have a disconnect. Team Luminosity did have a disconnect. And as long as that happens before the gates open, they are able to drop the game, and we will start it back up again. It's basically once the gates open, it's all gloves are off at that point. But since it did, fortunately for them, happen before the gates open, they were able to go ahead and drop from the match, and we will queue up a new match. And that is not an automatic loss for them. So we'll be getting back into this match here just as soon as that is all sorted out. And we will be able to see these guys face off against each other.
Actually,
and in fact,
the match is already.
Yeah, match is already going up. Fortunately, whatever it was seems to have cleared up very, very quickly. And we will be getting back into this match here on Dalaran Sewers.
Yeah, and we'll check and see if there's anything odd that we've seen in their specs. It doesn't look like there's too much, of course. We do have one thing to note, Glyph of Rude Interruption, for example, on specs in, so he's going to gain that a little extra damage after interrupting, but everything else pretty standard. Playing Sudden Death, Warbringer. Not too much to say on Smexin. Shamguards, of course. The big thing to know, he does like playing Totemic Projection, so he does like throwing those capacitor totems around when he can. And then Danny Carey is going to be playing, it looks like Nature's Vigil this time.
Yep.
Has his level 90 talent. Of course, Germination, such a great talent. And then on Rich Girl, everything is as expected. Actually, Unbreakable Spirit instead of Clemency. I have a feeling the last time he died, this is going to give a shorter cooldown on his Divine Protection and his Divine Shield. So that's a great choice. But that's if they go on him. So if they don't, that talent isn't going to pay off, and Clemency is just going to be more important. However, against an Enhanced Shaman, it's kind of a toss because it's going to get purged off anyway. Yeah,
definitely. Having that Enhancement Shaman in there is going to make Blessing and Protection a little bit less useful. But these guys are just going right at it already, just dealing as much damage as possible to Beats by Drake. He does have his Dark Soul active, which as a demo lock does increase his mastery by 30%, which is just like you were saying earlier, that mastery increases their damage by so much. He can get some crazy burst out, but he's just been taking so much damage and hasn't really been able to put out the damage that he wants to in all this. Rich Girl already having to use Avenging Wrath to try and keep his team alive, and now the Dark Regeneration coming out from Beats by Drake as well, just to be able to stay alive through this crazy amount of damage that Luminosity's been putting out.
Yeah, his first meta and his first Dark Soul really didn't do anything. You saw that they wanted to go on to Danny Carey, who kind of put himself in a bad position at the start, but then once he was behind the pillar, his Warrior and Shaman just sat on the back of Beats by Drake and didn't let him move the entire time.
Yep, definitely. So now he's having to sort of pull back a little bit over here and try to get over to his healer, Rich Girl over here, who is just doing some serious work right now, trying to keep him alive through all this damage. Smexin and Shamgars are just beating the crap out of Beats by Drake through all of this. And now that second Dark Soul is going to come out. He's going to immediately get stunned. On top of that, the Execution Sentence is going to come down onto him to try to keep him alive. And I'm not actually sure where that Execution Sentence came from because, oh no, never mind. I was just reading the cooldowns wrong. Danny Carey, though, maybe in a little bit of trouble here. He's having to go bear form and trying to get out of line of sight over here. Are they going to go ahead and turn this onto Shamgars? No, they're going to just keep chasing down Danny Carey. There's so much damage happening to him right now. He's got to sit in bear form through this whole thing, and he might be in a lot of trouble here. His Iron Bark is still available. He might have to use that on himself, but no, he's going to be fine. And Beats by Drake in a lot of trouble. He does get that bop, which is immediately purged, and now he's just in so much trouble as Rich Girl gets stunned on that charge. Beats by Drake in just so much trouble right now. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to keep him alive. The Avenging Wrath does come out, though, and it looks like that's going to go ahead and let him get top back off.
Not only that, they really did what they wanted to in that situation. Not only did they get Beats by Drake out low, they also made Black Jeff pull back and help his team out. Oh, there we go. Now we have a Dark Soul coming out. Yet another one. That's how short this cooldown is with that glyph, as Danny Carey is going to be taking a bunch of damage. But we see so much CC on to Beats by Drake as he's going to try to get away. But Smexen, heroic leaping over, just staying right on his back. He really does not want him to do anything on each of his cooldowns. And that was a great job, interrupting constantly. Beats by Drake really hasn't gotten any castable spells off as he gets his Wrathguard back out because they keep killing it.
Yeah, definitely. He's just been getting shut down this entire time, just not able to put out any of the pressure that he really wants to be able to do. Fortunately, he is, as Demo, a lot of that pressure is going to be burst related, so he could still get an opportunity at some point to just put a whole ton of damage into somebody, but so few cooldowns are still available for him defensively.
There goes Dark Soul again, and he's in meta, but again, look at that Shockwave instantly coming off, as he does do 2 Chaos Waves, but normally you would expect Chaos Waves to chunk someone down, but nothing happened during those Chaos Waves. So this is a great job, Danny Carey's team. He's really keeping his team offensive during that, and what they need to do is just every time that Beats by Drake is going to choose to go offensive, the Warrior needs to be there to shut him down, and Smexen is doing an excellent job at that.
Yeah, Smexen playing absolutely flawlessly in this match. Every single time that Beats by Drake wants to do anything, you can see right
there
now.
It goes again.
Yeah, exactly. He's just still over here getting those shockwaves.
Yep, and immediately we see the Sham Rage out of it. Shamguards, we'll see what Black Jeff chose to steal with that Dark Sim. Maybe nothing, as Beats by Drake again just taking so much damage. Smexen just sitting on his back the whole time.
Yep. Rich Girl did have to use his Avenging Wrath there, which means there are no more cooldowns available for him for another 10 seconds, and even then it's just going to be his Trinket that's available, and no defensive cooldowns other than Unending Resolve available for Beats by Drake. So if Luminosity can keep up this pressure, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Yet again, there he is going into Metamorphosis form, just trying to put out as much damage as he possibly can, and that Shockwave comes out. The Mighty Bash onto Rich Girl. Beats by Drake could be in a lot of trouble here if they can follow up. They do get a Cyclone onto Rich Girl, but Beats by Drake is just running for his life right now, trying to stay away. He's going to maybe be able to... No, actually gets stunned. He gets stunned on that charge, and he was not able to jump down there. Now he's going to have to come over here and try to get out of line of sight, but now he's line of sighting his healer. He does get that save by the light proc, which is going to keep him alive through that. Danny Carey now in the Fist of Justice. That's going to get removed from him right away, and he's going to be able to heal up his team, and these guys are just looking completely fine right now.
Well, we do see the Doom coming out. Plus, it looks like they're going to go in Shamguards. We see the early Soul Reaper. They really think that they can stack this damage onto him. Some short Soul Fires coming out, but again, Shamguards doing a great job of line of sighting. Huge melee around this pillar right now, as we see an excellent knockoff by Danny Carey, making sure that Black Jeff isn't going to stick to his target. But Beats by Drake, again, getting so low. Look at that. Wow.
Yep. Yeah, just so much constant pressure out of Luminosity, and Beats by Drake just not able to keep up any pressure himself. I like the thought behind going Demonology, but I really kind of feel like in this match, it would have been a lot better for him to be able to counteract the healing of Danny Carey by just keeping dots up on all those targets. Would have made him a little bit harder to really shut down nearly as much as he was in this match. So yeah, that's going to be game 2, going to Luminosity here, and we'll see where we go from here.
Yep, and of course we do have to wait until the game actually ends. So, I mean, you never know. These teams are hoping the enemy team would run away. Are they... Oh, okay. So I'm wondering if there was a disconnect. So this is... We talk about sportsmanship. It's possible that there was a disconnect that happened right there. They're actually letting the enemy team res up and keep going. So great sportsmanship. We'll have to talk to the players later and find out exactly what happened, but they're going to go immediately after the res. It's possible that Beats by Drake got disconnected, something along those lines, but they're going to go right back on him. Not going to let him wait too much because of the cooldowns. Yeah. You know, Rich Girl XO again bubbling right away because of that short bubble cooldown. As we do see the damage coming out by Beats by Drake, but not doing too much. As meta is cast, he puts some dooms up. And getting ready to port, and there he goes. He's porting away as both Smexen and Shamguard looking to get back on top of him. The Dark Soul comes out again. Let's see if he can do anything with it this time. They've done a great job of shutting down every single one of them, and there goes, it faded already.
Yep, definitely. They're just like... I really, really appreciate the sportsmanship, but at the same time, I feel like they kind of feel like, okay, you know what, we've got this one anyway, because Hands Up has just been on the back foot for this entire match. It's still entirely possible that could backfire on them, though, allowing them to res him. So definitely still nice that they were able to risk that. Shamguard's now caught into that Axe Toss stun there for just a second, but it looks like Danny Carey's going to be able to heal him up just fine. He's trying to get a Cyclone out, but was not able to actually land it, and actually got interrupted on it both times. Beats by Drake, again with that Dark Soul, just trying to put out as much damage as possible. Actually pumping a lot into Danny Carey right now. He's going to have to use the Bark Skin and the Iron Bark to keep himself alive, and Nature Swiftness. So Danny Carey and the Trinket. Danny Carey using every single defensive cooldown in that engagement.
Yep, and he was able to fake the Mind Freeze and get a Cyclone out, and that just completely stopped his pressure. Beats by Drake down to half right now with a bash onto Rich Girl. Look, Danny was all the way over there, already blinking over and tossing in that CC. Another Cyclone, forcing the wings out of Rich Girl, as the Hex goes on to Rich Girl also with the Demon Soul on to Beats by Drake with a Fear on top of it, as they're going to try to shut down this Demon Soul rate. Again, Beats by Drake getting kind of low. Saved by the Light did proc already, so he doesn't have that to fall back on, but look at Black Jeff's life also. Down to half, sitting around there. They haven't really been focusing on him very much, but this could be a kill target, possibly.
Yeah, definitely. You can always, like, at an opportune moment, make a nice swap and get a kill on somebody that your opponents just weren't expecting. They've been going on Beats by Drake for the entire match, so it's entirely possible that a quick swap to Black Jeff could actually just finish him off. Now it actually looks like they're focusing on Rich Girl a little bit. He's going to go ahead and bop himself, and actually going to be able to hold on to that Blessing of Protection for quite some time. Shamguard just was not able to purge that off, but now Beats by Drake, once again, in a lot of trouble. He's just constantly being stuck out over here. He's trying to use his Dark Soul, but it does not look like he's going to be able to live much longer. And once again,
wow.
Beats by Drake has fallen.
And that great sportsmanship, you know, playing that out, letting them res when they did have a disconnect issue. That was a lot of damage, though, towards the end. You know, they really had their pick of targets at that point. You know, they knew that they could swap it immediately on to Rich Girl, Rich Girl, and forcing that Blessing of Protection or Hand of Protection out. And the Purgers weren't there to follow it up, but, you know, huge damage. 100k Demon Bolt, like we said, that can come out of nowhere.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually didn't see him cast 2 in a row either, or 2 in a short time, so that second Demon Bolt could have been devastating.
Yeah, definitely. So there was an error with our score display during that match. That does mean that now Luminosity is up 2-0 and not a 1-1 tie as the score was showing. And we'll have to make sure that we get that sorted. But yes, that does now mean that Luminosity is up 2-0 in this matchup. If they win this next match, Luminosity will be going to the finals to face off against Is Butter a Carb. And that would be a fairly epic match. But of course, if Hands Up is able to come back and win the next 3 matches, they will be the ones to move on, which would also be an incredibly epic match. So I am super excited for these next few matches. Personally, I'm hoping for a few more games because these games are so amazing.
Yeah, they are.
But I would really, really like to see where we end up going with this.
All right, I adjusted the score to make sure it shows 2-0. But again, great sportsmanship from both teams during that moment. So they let them res their player and get reconnected. Yep. That was a great play right there. But again, it's an exciting match. You know, there was so much back and forth. But I will say, overall, I would say Luminosity kind of dominant in those matches.
Yeah, definitely. In these first couple of matches, in both matches, it seems like Black Jeff's team, Hands Up, is actually, they're trying a couple of little different things. Like, oh, let's just try these couple of different angles and see where we're going, which is why I actually think that it's entirely possible for them to come back 3-0 once they go back to that composition that they're more familiar with, which is what they will be doing here. We are going into Blade's Edge Arena, and that will be the next match that we're playing on, and Team Hands Up will be playing that Affliction Warlock, Holy Paladin, and Frost Death Knight composition that we've seen them be so dominant on already today in other matches. Yeah,
going back to Affliction, very standard spec. Choosing to play Supremacy instead of Sack. You know, using that Unbound Will so we can use 2 trinkets because they are playing Horde, I do believe still. Yep. And then, you know, Shadow Fury. These are all very standard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, and it looks like, let's see if Rich Girl, he is playing Unbreakable Spirit still, which is, you know, a little bit different. Most people play Clemency, but again, like we said, against a Purging team, it's not going to stay up as often. And then Spexin, very standard build again.
Yep.
And
he's actually Stormbolt this time instead of Shockwave. which is an interesting change.
Yep. The pet's going to be a little bit less to, he's probably baiting, knowing that he's playing against a demo, having those free, basically, cooldown reduction based on the wild imps.
Yep, definitely. So now we have these guys going in here once again. Both teams just being super aggressive right from the start. We do have a fear
right
going
from the
out.
Start
yeah.
from Smexen.
Yeah, definitely trying to put as much damage into Beats by Drake as possible. Fortunately, Beats by Drake, now that he is playing Affliction, is able to do a lot more damage on the move, and his Dark Soul does last a lot longer, so we'll have to see if that Rot Pressure is able to keep up. And actually, Danny Carey in a lot of trouble, dipping down to 20% health already through his Bark Skin. He's getting very, very low on health, has not used any... No, excuse me, there's the Iron Bark coming out on him as well, and the Nature Swiftness, so everything but his Trinket was used in that opener. Hands Up looking like they are out for blood this match.
Yeah, that was a great Hex by Shamgars to try to help Danny get away onto Beats by Drake. Kind of saved Danny's life at that point, but I'm surprised that was the only thing that Danny used in that situation. Surprised he didn't use a Trinket there, but it was just so much pressure even when he was not CC'd.
Yeah, I think maybe like in the sort of psychological situation that they find themselves in, they're up 2-0. If they accidentally lose a match, like it's a little bit less scary to say, well, I'll just hold on to my cooldowns as much as possible.
There's the Trinket. Yeah, so the grip, again, we're seeing this resurgent of the strat to do the grip stuns. As look, Shamgars is going to sit on the back of Rich Girl, going to constantly try to stay on his back. As you can see, chases him back up, but it looks like they are going to be on Danny Carey, as Danny Carey does get strangulated as the pillar is coming out. So Danny just needs to keep himself alive and keep himself healed so that his enemy or his melee can just stay on the target.
Yeah, definitely. And one interesting thing that I want to point out that I don't believe we've mentioned yet is that Shamgars is actually playing Draenei. Normally you would expect to see a dwarf shaman on Alliance side, but he's actually playing Draenei. I've heard a lot of people saying that Gift to the Marrow can actually be really good.
It's great. It's such a great heal. As we see, Danny is going to finally, Jeff decides to not stick onto Danny anymore, and that's exactly what Danny needed. He just needed to live to the point where Black Jeff can go on his melee so Danny can start tossing out those CCs. As you see, the amount of uptime Jeff lost just because of that was a massive amount of time.
Definitely, but Hands Up is definitely looking like they're in a much better situation in this match than they have been previously. And it may just be this map choice as well working out so well for them as they are able to sort of use the range advantage of having Beats by Drake, but he is in a little bit of trouble right now, down to 50% health. He does get that sacrifice on him to help reduce that damage. Rich Girl does go into that Stormbolt though, and they may be swapping around on a Rich Girl. He's dipping down super low, down to 30% health. They might be able to get the bubble out of him here. He accidentally, it looked like he used his execution sentence on Beats by Drake instead of himself and could be in some trouble, and yes, there it is. The Divine Shield has to come out from Rich Girl, and that is all of his cooldowns at this point.
That was smart, as we do see the Dark Soul go up by Beats by Drake, so they're going to try to turn it around on Shamgars at this point, as but Danny Carey is free casting. No, it looks like he is going to get strangulated right there, as down to half right now. It needs... Oh, he gets gripped in again and stunned, and it looks like that... There we go. Now's the stun. It just took just a second because of Rich Girl had to sit back and heal a bit. We do see a Hex come out on to Beats by Drake too, but it looks like they are going to chase the healer down yet again. Shamgars and Smexen under the bridge, chasing Rich Girl, who's down so low. As there we go, the Ascendance is popped and seals the deal. Luminosity takes this 3-0 over Hands Up.
Yeah, looking very, very dominant in this match, which I would not have expected going into this because Hands Up has played absolutely brilliantly all day, but just I feel like they just weren't prepared for the sheer amount of pressure that Luminosity is able to put onto Rich Girl, like onto the Holy Paladin. That's something that you generally don't see people, like if your options are Warlock, Holy Paladin, or Death Knight. Death Knight is generally not going to be your kill target, but I would have totally have expected them to be focusing on the Warlock that entire time, and they certainly were going after Beats by Drake on multiple occasions, but in 2 of those 3 matches, it was actually Rich Girl that they scored the kill on, and that's very good situational awareness, I think, to be able to recognize, oh, we can actually just kill him right now. We can actually just murder this guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's solid, and with that, of course, that was our second best of 5, I do believe?
Yep.
Oh no, was that 2-0 or maybe
that was 3-0. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will be moving on. That was a very, very fast best of 5 series compared to the other one. So I believe we are going to take a really short break before we move on to the finals, which will be between Team Luminosity and Team Is Butter a Carb. That's going to be an absolute epic match. It's going to be a best of 7 as well, so there's a lot of games yet ahead. Don't go anywhere. Stick right around. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes.